to another video. Today I am so excited to share my very first video with you guys for Crackerbox and Suzy Stamps. Now today is the new release, so I have a few of the new release stamps here. These are all Harry Potter themed and I love Harry Potter. I mean, I wasn't allowed to read it when I was a little girl because I grew up in such a conservative Christian household, I guess I should say, but I found my way to them when I was a teenager, and I absolutely love these books. I'm trying to get my kids to read them now, so we'll see if that works out. But today I'm going to make a Harry Potter inspired card with some of these new stamps. I'm using the VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink to go ahead and stamp a few of these wands. I'm only going to use one, but I stamped 3 of them just because these stamp beautifully and I had fun stamping them. Now on a 4 3/4 by 3.5 piece of white cardstock, I'm going to start stamping my sentiment. Now I am doing quite a bit of stamping beforehand because this is a pigment ink that I'm using. I want to give it a little time to dry. I really don't want to take a heat tool to it unless I absolutely need to, so it doesn't warp the cardstock. That sentiment I stamped said, "The wand chooses the wizard." And Mr. Ollivander said that, if you aren't familiar with the movies or the book. And for the background on this, I'm going to keep it really simple with just some black ink and stamping all of these different elements. So I have the glasses, I have the 9 3/4 platform stamp there, and then I also have the little scar lightning bolt stamp. I'm going to repeatedly stamp these around that card base that is A2 in size and side folding. I'll be using it horizontally. I'll repeatedly stamp these around the edges to fill that in. I really don't need to stamp the center because it's going to be covered up by a panel later on. So I'm just going to very, very quickly stamp these. I've put a piece of white computer paper behind it to catch all the extra ink so I don't smear any ink around. When you're doing black and white, you want to be as careful as possible because any of your smudges are really going to stand out with this limited color palette. On the top, I also have a little bit of masking paper, basically to hold my paper down and also to keep the top clean from any stamps and ink. That way I can continue with stamping these kind of off the cardstock to give it that real pattern paper look. I have a few more stamps to go here. I'm twisting these every which way, but I am keeping them kind of upright so you can read them and see what they are. I just like the look of that better with these stamps. Sometimes I turn them around and do them upside down, but for this one I kept them all pretty up and down straight as they were. I just shifted them to the left and the right a little bit, angled them. Alright, one last little stamp here, and then that finishes off the background. To remove that masking tape on top, I just very, very easily pull it straight back on itself, and that will tear it away from the paper without tearing the paper. Also, before you put down that masking tape, it's best if you stick it kind of on your shirt a little bit. That way it takes away a little bit of the stickiness and you don't have as much trouble pulling it away. That wand I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut with my scissors. Very quick and easy to do with this one. I just make sure that I turn the paper and not my scissors, and that way I get a nice even white border around the entire stamped image. I'm also going to color this in very quickly. The VersaFine Claire ink plays really, really well with alcohol markers with pretty much all the coloring mediums, which is why it's my go-to ink now. But for this wand, I'm using just a few different browns in my alcohol markers. If you don't have alcohol markers or you don't want to use them, you could get a really pretty texture from colored pencils as well coloring this in. You could even do distress inking on these and then fussy cut right up to the lines with this, and that would be gorgeous as well. I'm using my alcohol markers 3 different colors though, and I'm kind of going from light at the very point of the wand to darker towards the end. And I think that just gives it a different look. I guess you could say a look that I like. And there's a closer look at the finished wand all ready to go. Now for this wand, I want to have kind of a stream of light coming out. Excuse that little piece of masking tape up in the top right hand corner. My little wand and masking tape did not want to cooperate today. I was getting a little frustrated, so I just stuck it up there on my shelf very quickly, and I didn't notice it got in the way of my camera. But what I'm doing with that masking tape is kind of putting it down to where it's going to create a little V that starts at the point of the wand once I have it put down on the piece of cardstock. So I masked off a V very quickly with masking tape, and I'll be using some yellow distress ink. So I'm starting off with some squeezed lemonade. If you don't have distress inks or you don't want to use these, you could always use the distress oxides. You could use any dye ink that blends really well, or if you wanted to, you could even use different colors. So if you don't like the yellow, you could do some blues, you could do some purples. It really is up to you, whatever color you want to do here. This is going to be a birthday card. I like the yellow in this, but if you wanted to, and it's for a boy, you could always do some blues, some greens. You could do a rainbow color coming out of it. It really is up to you how far you want to take this. I started off with that squeezed lemonade. I put a layer of it down, keeping it more light towards the very top right hand corner, and then I'll come in with some mustard seed and darken up that V quite a bit towards the very point of it, and then again back with that squeezed lemonade and blend that out. Very, very simple, quick and easy to do. That's why I waited for my ink to dry a little bit and I stamped it first though. If you go over this ink with your distress inks very quickly and you don't allow that time to dry, it will smear it. Now, like I said, I pull this masking tape straight back on itself, and then I have this gorgeous triangle ready to go. Now it's time to put the card together. You can see I tried this once before. It didn't work out so well, so I peeled off that panel from my backing paper. I'm putting it on a new black mat that I cut very quickly, and then I have that placed down with some just plain adhesive. On that black mat, I'm going to put a little bit of dimensional adhesive. I'm using Fun Foam and double-sided adhesive. And then I'll peel off that backing paper and place that panel right down onto my card base that has all those stamped little Harry Potter elements on it that I love so much. I do kind of unfold my card to put down my mats. That seems to help with the placement, and it doesn't bounce around on me so much. The final piece to go on is that little wand right in the bottom left-hand corner, and there it looks like you've got some light shooting out of the wand. I love it so much. It's so simple but so cute. Alright, on the inside of the card, I'm going to go ahead and stamp a few final little stamps here. I have a stamp here from the new release that says, "Happy birthday to my favorite muggle." So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that right in the center on the inside of the card. And then around that, I'm going to stamp a few more of those elements that I stamped on the outside. So I have the glasses here. I'll stamp those in the bottom left-hand corner right next to the sentiment. And then in the top right, I've got that lightning bolt scar. And I'll stamp it down very, very quickly too, and that finishes off the inside of the card. This card only took about 20 minutes from start to finish, and it was so simple and easy to do. You can make a set of these very quickly for like a teacher or anybody that really loves Harry Potter, maybe a librarian even. That would be fun. And they won't take that long to do, and it's basically all stamping, which are my favorite cards to do. But that does it for me today. One final look at the card itself, and I want to thank you guys for watching this very first video of mine for Crackerbox and Suzy Stamps. There are going to be a few links on the left side of your screen you can click on. If you aren't subscribed, you can do that over there as well. And if you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up down below. Thanks for watching and happy crafting.